Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, and so excited to have on my channel today. I have been on his now about 2 times, but Dakota Snow, also known as the Bearded IT Dad. And Dakota, we've gotten to meet this year at DEF CON. We've talked several different times via through LinkedIn, text message, Discord. But I want to pass it to you for a good, solid, proper introduction.
Well, thank you again for having me on the channel. It's so exciting to finally be on this side of the camera this time. And yeah, my name is Dakota Snow. I am also known as the Bearded IT Dad. I've been in the tech industry for 7, 8 years now, and I had a very interesting upbringing into tech. I always had a passion for technology, but I didn't quite know how that was going to work into my career. And when I got out of high school, I just wasn't meant for college. And I'll kind of go into that story a little bit longer, but I originally, actually, before I got into tech, I was a bulldozer operator, and I just blindly cold turkey transitioned into tech. And from entering the tech field, it took me 3 years of hard work, and I was actually able to progress up into a director level role. Now, along all that, I also have the YouTube channel, The Bearded IT Dad, the IT Career Podcast, and the IT Career Accelerator community, where I actually work with people trying to break into the tech industry from all walks of life. So that's a little story about me in a nutshell.
And Dakota, we're so excited to have you on, and we're going to be dissecting that a little bit more of how and why you broke into cyber. So, the first question I ask everybody on this channel is when we're going through and we're growing up, we don't tell our first grade teachers that, hey, I want to be a pen tester, I want to be a GRC analyst, I want to be an IT director. We say astronaut, we say a doctor basketball player, but obviously it's something you have a very strong passion for. I know you mentioned you kind of just shared your story from bulldozer operator to director in cyber, but can you give a little bit more detail maybe of what really drew you into breaking into cyber?
So my very first taste of just tech in general was back in high school. My high school had a Cisco CCNA course. And that's really where I kind of sunk my teeth into technology in general. And I mean, I'm definitely involved in cybersecurity, but still at my heart every day, I'm a networking guy. I work for an ISP, and just seeing how networking worked really piqued my interest in technology. Like I said, out of high school, I kind of lost interest for a little while. College wasn't for me. Completely honest and transparency. I was too busy like chasing girls and stuff in college to pay attention. So I just started doing jobs to put food on the table. And it was almost 10 years after high school when I finally decided to come back around into technology and decided I was sitting in a bulldozer making like 70 grand a year, great money. And I'm like, this is just not for me. This is just mind numbing. I want to do something that actually mentally challenges me. And I decided I want to get into the technology field. So that's kind of how I broke into technology, or how I got my interest and kind of came back around into technology. And then the story of how I broke in is much more in depth.
Now, Dakota, we've had this conversation, and it's another kind of conversation I love kind of chatting with folks is when it comes to, and you see this many different times, and you actually do one-on-ones with folks and you have courses and training for this, but obviously resumes trying to get their first entry-level job. What makes a strong candidate, or what do you think is the best thing for folks to kind of put on that resume to really stand out in this market we're in today? Obviously, we see job posts on LinkedIn requiring CISSP, 7 years of experience, but it's an entry-level cyber analyst position, which obviously is maybe organizations shooting for the moon to look for that unicorn. But what are some real strong facts that you've seen proven with a lot of the folks you've mentored get their first cyber role when it comes into a good, strong resume?
That's a really good question. And a lot of people feel like the default go-to is, oh, I gotta list certifications. They think they gotta play Pokemon and catch them all, like get all these certifications. And I kind of have an unpopular opinion, but it's becoming to catch traction now is certifications actually don't matter that much, especially when you're starting out. You, to be honest with you, you really don't need certifications when you start out. I was actually able to land my very first job in tech with no college degree, no prior work experience, and no formal certifications. I was working towards like an entry level CompTIA certification, the A plus, but at the time when I first landed my first job, I had no certifications. Um, what really matters on that resume is two things. One is experience. Experience is always king. And I can hear you guys in the comments already. Well, how can you get experience if you can't land that first job?
Yep, I was just about to echo it. So
Exactly. And experience doesn't mean work experience. It means experience in the field. There's tons of ways to grab experience. We have home labs where you can create virtual machines with the stuff you have at home for free. There's platforms like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box where they set it all up for you. And there's like CTFs. There's so many opportunities to gain experience in this field. It is crazy. But the key where a lot of people fail is they don't articulate that experience well on their resume or just
yes.
in general in public. So, figuring out what experience you have that's relatable on that resume when you're applying for that job is huge because experience can come also from many different areas. Another thing people undervalue and is also experience in a way is your soft skills. And you might be thinking, well, how can you articulate soft skills on a resume? And I get hundreds of these comments about how people have applied for thousands of jobs and the job market's dead and they're not getting a single reply. And I tell them it's because they're using the exact same resume every time they apply for a job. And I'm not saying you have to go rewrite your resume on every job application, but you need to custom tailor it to that job you're applying for. Take 5-10 minutes just to make some small tweaks to make the person realize that you actually care about the job you're applying for. And that little change, like I've had people come back to me and like, I didn't believe you, but as soon as I did that, I got like 10 interviews, like requests. Um, so again, tying back into soft skills, the ability to articulate like and communicate well to others, that can come through in your resume. So experience and soft skills are huge when you're first trying to get into the field.
Yeah, it's funny. Hack the Box about 5 days ago dropped an amazing video on like the S tier skills you need to have on a resume. And you would think soft skills, which just recently I was talking to an educator that they're now, she refers to them as professional skills, which in a sense it makes a cool, kind of a good concept, but the soft skills,
Yeah.
professional skills. But the number one S tier skill, soft skills, communication skills. Because why is that? Exactly like you mentioned, you can learn the technicalese if you can get into that role. A lot of organizations have strong foundational onboarding processes. They have mentorships. They have training like set in stone and set like, hey, before you even touch production, you're going to be inside of a dev environment for maybe 2 to 3 months, practicing and practicing and practicing. Maybe you have a test. Maybe there's a practical before you even get to touch anything that's in production. And so, but being able to transcribe all that information, communicate with your C-suite, communicate in a strong report, talk to your coworkers, know when to ask for help. Sometimes those skills can't be taught. That's something that comes from the person that's working on that role. And being in cyber, you and I both know that there could be some introverts and some folks that have a hard time doing that communication skills. And my recommendation on that is sometimes a little bit to step out of your shell, like work on public speaking, go to Toastmasters, volunteer at a local meetup or hangout. Or when you find a local hangout, give yourself the challenge to maybe go shake 3 people's hands that day and introduce yourself. Because like you said, when you make that small tweak or change and really start emphasizing those professional skills as a, hey, this is why I'm the best candidate. I'm trainable, I'm teachable, but I know how to communicate. I know how to get the job done, and I know how to document and make sure that everything is standardized and systematic. That can probably go over more than saying, hey, I know how to use X tool. Well, I can teach anyone how to use Splunk. I can teach anyone how to use Elastic. I can't teach someone how to communicate correctly.
You took the words out of my mouth. As a hiring manager, I can teach you how to do the job. I can't teach you how to be a good team player. And I still know there's some people watching this video that are going to shrug that off, thinking, no, no, that's not the case. I
Yeah,
thought you
I
like
need the certifications. I need to have all the acronyms behind my name.
exactly. And I'm telling you, you don't need it. I went from help desk to a director level role running an ISP. And you know how many certifications I have? I still only have two. I have my A plus, which let's be honest, it doesn't matter really where I'm at. And then I have a low level Cisco networking certification. That's it. And my current job and my previous job, I asked the hiring manager, why did you pick me? I guarantee you there's more qualified candidates out there. Why did you go with me? And both of them had told me, because I could tell you'd be a great fit with the team. We had people applying for this job with master's degrees. Well, I don't think it was quite master's, but bachelor's degrees. And they were mad that they didn't get the job. But we decided to go with you because we saw that drive, that ambition, that willingness to learn, and your ability to communicate. You just seemed like you would be a great fit with the team. So that is huge. And the only way you're going to be able to demonstrate those skills in an interview is to do it well in your resume. So that's why taking time with your resume, if the job requires a cover letter, absolutely include a cover letter. And that's something some employers will do. I am guilty of that. I require a cover letter on my job postings because it helps me differentiate the people that are just spraying and praying applications to the people who are actually reading it. I will still skim through those resumes that don't include a cover letter, but instantly out of the bat, they have like lower rank. I spend less time reading their applications, where the people who actually took the time to read all the way through my job posting and actually include a cover letter. So just paying attention when you're applying for those jobs, you might still spend 2 hours of applying for jobs and only get like 5 applications in, but the amount of responses you're going to get back are going to be 10x.
No, 100%. And to kind of pivot a little bit onto what you kind of offer when it comes to your mentorship, with the Bearded IT Dad and your process. I think we were just talking earlier, an app was just created today, correct? Like
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, no, we just finally got approved on the Android marketplace. So I also run the IT Career Accelerator, which is a community full of people that are looking to break into tech in general. I don't typically narrow it down to like just cybersecurity or anything, because if you're just looking to break into tech, there's so many pathways into this field. You know, while cybersecurity is great to jump straight into, it can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes the easier path
Just a
is to
little.
like get that edge, just a little bit, yeah, to get that entry level job like at a help desk and then stay there for a year or two and then pivot into cybersecurity. But if you're looking to break it right into cybersecurity, I'm more than willing to help you there. So it's just a community full of people that are all in the same boat. They're either looking to land that first job in the tech industry, or maybe they have that first job and they're looking to advance beyond into their next career. So, to better facilitate that, we created an app. So we just went live on the Android app store, and come December, we're planning on publishing our iOS version as well. And it's just a community of great people. We have uh, different job recruiters in the community as well, and other coaches than just me to help and offer advice.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, get the Apple product, man.
I know.
I know Android's always the way to go, but yeah, we want the Apple app. So no,
It,
that's
it takes a little bit more steps to publish on Apple.
I can understand seeing why. No, that's awesome. Well, I have a kind of a fun, maybe left field question for you, Dakota. So
Yeah.
we talk about certifications, how they're really not needed sometimes, and like you can get that job without them. But I'll say, and I'll ask this maybe. So without looking at like your CompTIA SANS, Blue Team Level 1, would you say there are some other certifications that you'd recommend that could be off the beaten path that some folks don't maybe consider getting to try to break into cybersecurity or IT in general?
Absolutely. And, certifications, I want to preface it with this first. Certifications definitely do hold a place. They are great for getting you into that interview. They will not land you that job though. They they're great to open the door to get you into an interview. Once you get into that interview, it's up to you to win that hiring manager over.
Yep.
But also certifications, are great for giving you kind of a roadmap of the skills you need to learn for that next job. Um, so one thing I just put out a video about this a few weeks ago is I feel like a not talked about space in cybersecurity enough is GRC, governance, risk, and compliance.
Yep.
And it's always I feel like it's the black sheep of the conversation whenever it comes up. I'm like, ew, that's gross. No.
Compliance.
But it is,
Brother, tell ya.
yeah, exactly. But it is a huge in demand field right now. And there are some great certifications out there for GRC. Um, Actually, I was just reviewing one not too long ago, put out by GRC Mastery. And the thing is, this certification by GRC Mastery, if you go up to an employer and tell them, hey, I took this certification, they're probably not going to even know what it is, to be honest with you. But what's great about this certification is it teaches you the skills you need to know to be able to land that job. And it gives you actual practical experience to like you create a project, you do a capstone project and things like that, and you can put that in a portfolio. Um, there's tons of other platforms that are coming out with really great certifications for depending on like cybersecurity is so large and vast.
It's a spider web.
You can't
It's so
you
huge.
know,
It's
I, it's amazing. And I get people asking me all the time, like, hey, I want to get into cybersecurity. What certification should I go after?
what do you want to do?
I'm
What's that?
like, what do you
What do you want to do?
Yeah. If you want to get into penetration testing, there is tons of different certifications other than like the Pen Test Plus and the big names out there. TCM Security has some really great with their PMPT certification. Um, there's a couple different learning platforms I can think of, like INE with the EJPT V2 certification. I got to
Mhm.
beta test that one. And one thing I do absolutely love is in the certification realm is these practical certifications that are coming out. The PNPT, the EJPT V2, Try Hack Me, and
Yep.
just came out with one as well. Is where you're not just being quizzed on the knowledge anymore. You're actually doing the things you're going to be doing in the job. And what's great about that is, yeah, they're they might not necessarily help you as much on your resume, but they're going to definitely give you the skills and experience. So when you're in that interview and you're getting asked those technical questions, you're going to be better prepared to answer properly.
So much. And that's one thing that like I love CompTIA. I've gone through CompTIA's
Yeah.
certifications up to the Security X, and it was great. And the thing I always tell people as well when they're going the certification route, just like you said, there is a purpose to certifications. But the caveat is if you're just trying to collect them like Pokemon and you're not retaining the information, it's like riding a bike. You can forget it. I mean, it can be like, you're going to jump on like, okay, I remember how to do this. But like, if you're just doing it to collect badges and you're not retaining the information, you're not practicing it and refining it. A great hiring manager that I interviewed from Charles Schwab mentioned like, yeah, look, like I've put two people side by side that were looking for SOC analyst roles. One had their GSEC from SANS, a $10,000 certification. One had their SEC Plus. And a simple question was asked: how would you investigate a phishing investigation? A user clicked on a malicious link. You get the alert. Walk me through the process. And he's like, I don't care that the person that had the SEC Plus or the GSANs, I didn't hold one higher than the other. It's who understands the process and investigation more. And the person that had the Security Plus, he ended up going with that higher because they had a better explanation of how they do in their investigation, the processes. They were standardized and systematic. They walked through step by step. As silly as like, well, I'd first go to the SIM and I'd sign myself the investigation. And it's like, that sounds so minuscule and so tiny, but it's like going that one little step further than like, well, I would contain the host and I'd kind of pull through the logs and then I'd figure out if it was malicious or not. And then I just close the case and go from there. Like that's a way to answer it. But wouldn't you
Right.
think that if you've gone through a $10,000 certification course, which praise SANS. SANS is great training. It's an amazing training platform. It's an amazing course. They give great material. It's just expensive. And for folks trying to break into cybersecurity, sometimes those lower hanging fruit certifications that have great knowledge can teach you just as much as YouTube University, LinkedIn, Coursera, Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, TCM Security, Just Hacking. Like there's so many different platforms now that are out here to train and teach our young cyber defenders, pen testers, compliance analysts, sales, procurement. And just like you said, it's a labyrinth and a spider web of where you want to go. And I think it's the same thing that you and I both kind of snuckled when we both asked when folks come up to us like, "What do you want to do?" I want to get into cyber. It's like, "What do you want to do?" Because that's what's going to really direct our conversation of like, "Hey, well,
Uh,
let's go down this path, or let's go down this path, or let's have this conversation." So yeah, I think that's super important to understand when folks are trying to determine. And it's okay to change. There's so much in this
Yep.
world. Like I first thought, I'm like, I want to be a pen tester. And then I saw kind of how much blue team was kind of having to be invested in that. And I'm like, you know what? Blue team seems kind of cool. I now want to be a blue teamer. There is once upon a dream, I wanted to go into GRC. I kind of pivoted from that, but it's still a very much interest of mine because the compliance and government and risk aspect of an organization is very important. I
Yep.
also have a video coming out here next week with an amazing guest, Ashley Palms, who is a GRC SME within, she's worked in several different organizations, kind of explaining that same exact piece of it, of why it's an important piece of a puzzle. And exactly, just like we said, how certifications aren't the key to kingdoms, that you can get into the field without it.
Right. No, absolutely. And let me also mention is there's no right or wrong path necessarily into this field. Everyone's got
Yes.
to figure out what works for them. And, you know, there is tons of noise out here. Like if you turn on YouTube for 2 seconds and try to figure out how to get into cybersecurity, everyone's telling you something different. Go get this certification now. Go learn this now. Go do this. And it gets super overwhelming. And you really have to hone in on what you want to get out of it. Um, Another piece of advice I also tell people is, when you're taking certifications, some people kind of get trapped in the cycle. They're taking certifications for the job they already have. I don't really think that's the right path. Certifications really should be for that next job, to just be that extra tool. Don't take certifications that on knowledge you already have, unless your job requires you to, like, you get hired as a condition of being hired. You have to get this a certification. That's understandable, but
Yeah.
try to be evolving your skills with these certifications. Take certifications that's going to set you up for that next career move. Um, don't just take certifications to have that alphabet soup behind your name.
Yeah. I think in like the next perfect question that kind of guys that goes into this is finding that mentorship and finding mentors, which obviously you and I are both very much doing within this organization with our community. But another question I kind of have is, when do you know it's time to become a mentor? And what are ways that you can find mentorship? So obviously we have our discords, we have our websites, we have our YouTube channels, and several of other folks, Simply Cyber, just hacking, they have other means and too of
Yep.
reaching out, becoming that, being a part of those communities. But yeah, maybe recircling back to my first question, like when do you know when to become a mentor?
You know, For me, that happened a lot earlier than I thought. So I was into the tech industry for about a year on the help desk. And I got into tech by watching YouTube videos. That's where I learned, is the University of YouTube. And it was a fellow content creator I was talking with that helped me, kind of get that initial start. He's like, "Man, have you ever thought about creating YouTube videos, trying to kind of give back and help out in the community?" And I'm like, "No, I've only been in the field for like a year. What do I know?" He's like, "You'd be surprised. Little bit of advice for some people can go a long way. Sometimes they just need to hear it from someone else."
Yes.
So I kind of started my mentorship creating YouTube videos. And that was the gateway for people started reaching out and like, "Hey, do you mind looking at my resume and helping me out?" And I had huge imposter syndrome with that. I'm like, who am I to give career advice? I'm new to the field. But I started doing it. And like the first two people I mentored, like I just had a simple coaching call with them. Like we spent an hour on the phone, much like this. And I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, I felt so silly. I'm like, man, did I even give them the right advice? And both of them came back to me a week later and it's like, "Hey, I landed a job." Like one landed a job and the other one landed an interview. And had like two other interviews lined up. And I'm like, okay, this is it. Because the whole reason I do this is it only takes like one person watching the video. If I can help them out, like I've done my job. Um, the tech field and cybersecurity in particular can be so intimidating. And if you've landed that foothold into the industry, you could be that voice to help start helping other people out. And you're going to have imposter syndrome when you do it. You're going to be like, who am I to give advice? But I think as soon as you can start giving back to the community, the better. Also, I've learned if you want to learn something, teach it.
Yes.
Like, that is huge. I've learned so much and like retained so much information. Like there's things I definitely did not feel qualified to teach. And I'm like, I want to learn it. So I decided to start bringing people along with my journey as I started learning new skills. I mean, I am not an app developer. I developed my own app. I developed, you know, I created my community on a platform. I paid a bunch of money. I'm like, man, why am I doing this? I'm just going to build it myself. So I coded my own website. I created my own plugins and I developed my own app. And I brought people in my community. I didn't do this on YouTube, but I did bring people along in my community for that journey as I was doing it. And man, I was like, there's so many times I got it wrong in the process, but it was a great way to learn also along the way.
They say
And
failing,
people.
they say failing can be the best learning curve because you never do it
Yeah.
again. And
Eh,
that's exactly that.
Yeah. So I don't know if that really answers your question well, but
I think
I
it
think you should
does.
start.
No, I
I
think it
think
does.
as soon as you get into the field, you should turn around and start offering to help other people along the way. And don't view them. I know some people also like view mentorship, like when you're mentoring someone as you're mentoring your competition that people are going to take your jobs. This field's huge. You're not
Yeah.
doing that.
No,
You know, it doesn't take much to just lend some friendly advice. If someone reaches out to you on LinkedIn, just ask you a question, simply reply, offer to hop on a 15-minute call or something. It goes a really long way.
literally did that today, like in between calls and like breaks at work. There was a ASU student that's like, hey, like saw like I can't remember how it may have been from your LinkedIn or one of our videos. And it's like, hey, I saw
Yeah.
you're also in Arizona. Wanted to quickly say hi. I'm trying to break in. I'm like, hey, I'm free for a quick 20-minute call if you want to quickly. I mean, if you're available
Yep.
like right now. And she's like, yeah, give me like 2 minutes. And she jumped in. She's like, can I send you my resume? We talked about her resume. We talked about some things that she could change and kind of, I think, tweak to make herself look a little bit more sharper, trying to get a SOC. She's specifically looking for like a SOC security operations center role, but her resume was very much screaming system administrator. And I'm like, here's the problem. I'm like, probably if I was a hiring manager as a SOC manager, I'm looking at your resume and I'm looking at a systems administrator. I'm not looking at a SOC analyst. You need to take some of these bullets and turn them more security focused because system administrators do have a lot of things that they are currently doing in their role that are security eccentric or whatever the phrasing or correct wording
Yeah,
is.
eccentric. Yeah.
Eccentric. So I'm like, my recommendation would be either think about those and rephrase it, or in the great world we're in now, use ChatGPT or whatever favorite large language model you like to use and take your resume, take the job interview you're looking for and say, look, I've been doing this for X amount of years. This is my background. I have these certifications. She has a master's in cybersecurity. Take those bullet points and convert them into a security focused SOC role position of what you're trying to do. Cause that would make you look more security focused. Cause yeah, that's my recommendations I provided to her. And she's had a lot of certain bullets and I'm sure other things that you'll see on folks too. Like she had like 12 bullets on a job. I'm like, let's refine that like to 5 to 6, make it a
Yep.
little bit more sharp. And then providing that I did X, which then resulted in Y. So like, hey, I worked in the last 10 servers we had and patched vulnerabilities with a 99.99% success rate, making some stat up. But hey, you did something that then provided company X result because that's showing your value. Same thing where it's like, hey, out of 25 analysts, I was one of the top 5 analysts in metrics for the year on casework, quality assurance reviews, and so on and so forth. And just to make them stand out more. But Dakota, I've had you for a little bit. I have 3 more questions for you. Then we'll kind of tie into the fun question I always like to ask at the end of my channel. But I see the 3D printer kind of spinning out in the back, so I have to ask,
Yes.
what's a printing?
I'm actually printing my daughter has a birthday party to go to, so I'm printing her gifts for her. I actually have 2 different 3D printers. I got 2 bamboo lab printers behind me, and those things are pretty much constantly going right now.
So I gotta say, when you're not doing cybersecurity, what kind of fun things are you looking to do to kind of offset the balance of like cyber? Like, what are you doing for fun?
Uh, is that relate to that thing called free time because I've yet to experience that. I have 3 kids, I got a wife, we have dogs, like we don't have free time. But just spending time with family, right now my kids are in cross country, so I'm like
Oh, nice.
fully busy with that. Yeah. My wife's the assistant coach, so that's why I spend all my free time during this time of year. But we love to go camping. I love to go off-roading and, like, overlanding. I actually a while ago had a YouTube channel where I was, like, documenting, like, backcountry trails in Oregon and stuff like
Ah,
that,
dude, cool.
and it was so much fun. But, between, working full time, running, an ISP, and run the YouTube channel, the community, I really don't have a lot of free time right now to do too much fun stuff. But, I also, like, right next to me, I have a couple different home lab setups, like,
Yep,
it's hard to
yep.
see with the lighting, but, I have a couple Raspberry Pis and some mini computers over there in a lab cluster. I'm always tinkering with something technology based, automation. I have Meshtastic running over here as well. Bunch of fun toys.
Nice. Well, my other question is obviously you got to go to DEF CON this year, which was
Yes.
super fun. I know you did a few videos and dropped on it as well. What was your favorite part about DEF CON?
My favorite part was just seeing. So I've been to several conferences and they're always so sales pitchy. And it's just like every second you turn around, someone's trying to cram something down your throat. And that was not at all DEF CON. The vibe is not like anything you've ever seen before. It was just so chilled, relaxed. There was so many people there, but they're all there for one passion. And it's just cybersecurity, it's hacking, and they're all it was so interesting to see how friendly also the community is when they all come together. A lot of people we talk about cybersecurity and a lot of the folks that work in it are kind of all like introverts. They don't like to communicate with other. And you go to a conference with this year, I think there was nearly 30,000 people there
Yeah, it almost doubles or like grows like by 1,000 every single
every
year.
year. It's
Mhm.
it's huge, and just how like if you don't know what's going on, there's just you walk over and talk to someone, and they just like, oh yeah, come here, let's get you involved in this, and it's so cool because, like I said, it was my first year going, and I did not have any clue what to expect. I had no clue what to do. I didn't plan anything out. I just this year I was going with the flow, and I can't tell you how many people just like, "Oh, come here. You got to do this. You got to see that." I helped run the Kubernetes CTF for a while, which I've never ran, a CTF ever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, come here. We'll have you help run the booth, man the booth." And, I wish I got to spend more time in the new village because, as you know, my passion is trying to help people break into the field and just seeing like a area of a conference dedicated to just the people that are early in their career and in this field was just so cool and awesome to see.
Yeah, and it's growing and growing every year, and we had such a good turnout. We're so excited for next year. My next question for you, Dakota, is any call for papers you think this year you think about doing, or any conferences you plan on attending?
This year, pretty, because we're recording this in end of September, probably not. I'm pretty much done this year. Next year's, definitely think about it. I was actually asked this year in November to go speak at Spice World, which is
Ooh, okay.
there's yeah, Spiceworks is it started as like a ticketing platform, online forum for people in the tech industry, and they actually asked me to talk there this year and just conflict the schedule. Last year, I did a talk at Cisco Live, which was the biggest networking conference in the world, which is super cool. But definitely want to get out there, just trying to find the right opportunities. It's a little early to plan 2026 talks
Yeah,
now.
I think in the next probably early January, late December, then the plan of action can kind of go out. But
Exactly.
but Dakota, this has been so fun. We're so glad to finally bring you onto the show, bring you onto the channel, and kind of share your
Absolutely.
story, have this awesome fun banter, and we'll definitely be bringing you back because I'm sure there's just like with you and I coming back and forth, like we could pretty much talk about anything for like hours, and it's always a good
Exactly.
conversation. But hey everyone, thanks so much for sticking around. If you've made it this far, please drop in the comments, like, subscribe, mention what your favorite part was, drop a question so Dakota and I can get back to you with an answer. And Dakota, last but not least, what's the last piece of advice you'd give someone trying to break into cyber?
Start today. Seriously, everyone keeps on saying that they're gotta wait till they're ready. They gotta wait till they get the certification. They gotta wait till they do that. No, go out today and apply for 5 jobs. Just go do it. You don't have to be ready. You know, and this is actually 2 pieces of advice. We mentioned, when we were looking at these job listings that, they see them asking for all these requirements when they're, an entry level job. Apply anyways, because you never know, one, when you might be the most qualified candidate that applies, two, when they like your soft skills more than like your actual technical skills. And the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no, and you're going to learn something from that. You're going to evolve yourself. So again, anything that looks interesting, just go out there and start applying, because you only need one opportunity to actually get your foot into this field.
Excellent advice as always, Dakota. Well, hey, we'll be dropping all of his socials in the comments below for this video as well. And as always, I'll catch you on the next episode of Breaking into Cyber.